Who are you? Stop right there. Go ahead and stop right there.
A flashlight beam cuts through complete darkness and finds a man who should not be there. He is standing beside a truck that is not his, on a stretch of central Idaho so remote that a patrol car can drive for miles without passing another set of headlights. Told to stop, he stops. Asked who he is.
What are you doing?
Got a little business problem going on down here, and I just wanted to make sure you weren't that guys.
All right, so you're just trying to keep an eye on stuff then?
Yeah, excuse me for if I got you excited.
All right.
He gives an answer that sounds rehearsed. Something about keeping an eye on a friend's belongings. About thieves working the area at night. He is calm, almost too calm, for a man found alone in the dark beside another person's abandoned truck. He is not who investigators are looking for. 2 nights earlier, in this same stretch of mountains, whatever this search was built around had already been decided, in ways nobody standing at that truck yet understands. Inside the vehicle, exhausted and severely dehydrated, is a small dog that has been trapped for 2 days, the only living witness to whatever happened to the man who owned it.
That is the Custer County Sheriff's Office! Can you hear us? Dog's in the seat.
Alive?
What was the dog's name?
Ryder.
Ryder, buddy. Ryder.
Been awake?
No, it's not moving.
Dog's been in here a while. He's messed himself. Oh, he's moving. It's definitely a he, by the way. Hi, baby. Oh, you're okay. We're gonna get you some water, okay? Where'd he go? Where did he go?
The dog has a name, so does the man he belonged to. Before this night is over, deputies will hear both names spoken by the one person responsible for making sure neither was ever supposed to be found again. None of that is visible yet. What is visible is a decent, methodical man who cuts and sells firewood for a living, who never went into the mountains without his dog beside him, and who has, for 2 days, simply stopped answering. The people who know him best assumed exhaustion, bad luck, a breakdown on some forest road with no signal. Nobody in this small county thought they needed to assume anything worse. It's one of the most sparsely populated stretches of Idaho, the kind of place where a couple of quiet days rarely mean what they turn out to mean here. This is not, in the end, a story about a man who went missing in the wilderness. It is the story of a man who was certain that nothing in these mountains would ever be found, and of how close he came to being right. The dog's name is Ryder. The man's name is Patrick Shelton, 47 years old, and in the town of Chalice, most people who knew him at all knew him the same way, as the man who cut and sold firewood, often alone, often for days at a stretch, in the national forest that surrounds the town on every side. Patrick was a father. 2 daughters, grown, who would later stand in a courtroom.
No one expects to lose a parent. Nobody, wakes up one day and they're missing, and no one gets pulled in and finds out that their parent has been murdered.
And describe exactly what not knowing had done to them. He had also become something close to a son to a local woman named Helen, no blood between them, who had taken him in, and in her own words, considered him one of her own. He worked hard, hauled his own wood, ran his small business the way people do in a town too small for anyone to hide much from their neighbors. His routine barely changed. Into the mountains with his truck and his chainsaw, his dog riding along, a firearm within reach, because a man alone in that country for days at a time does not go without one. He was not without people he did business with either. For a while he kept a couple of old motorhomes parked on a strip of land belonging to a local man named Alan Bruce, 70 years old, a welder and mechanic with property just outside town. It was the kind of casual arrangement that develops between 2 men who had worked together for years. Vehicles left sitting on someone else's ground because there was room for them, and no reason yet to think twice about it. Helen worried when Patrick didn't check in, but not right away. Disappearing into the hills for days at a time was the job, not a warning sign. What nobody could have named at the time was how completely quiet everything around him had gone. By every account gathered afterward, Patrick was reliable, direct, and easy to underestimate as anything other than exactly what he appeared to be. A working man who loved his dog, checked in with the people who cared about him, and had no reason to think a familiar patch of ground outside Chalice was any different from all the other ground he had worked in that country for years. The quiet held for 2 full days before anyone treated it as more than ordinary. Patrick had headed toward the Bay Horse area on May 8th to cut wood, expecting to be back within a day or so, which by itself meant nothing. Solo wood gathering trips that ran longer than planned were routine for him, and this is a county where cell service disappears the moment the pavement does. Nobody panics over a missed phone call out here. They wait. By Saturday, May 10th, Helen had stopped waiting. She walked into the Custer County Sheriff's Office that afternoon to report Patrick overdue, what he'd been wearing, the dog that never left his side.
He's upset. I'm just surprised he hasn't been back to see. That's why I'm concerned.
Yeah. Do you know what he was wearing last when he left?
Pair of boots, blue jeans, and I think it was a dark t-shirt and baseball cap, and he's got a little pug rider that is with him everywhere.
Who is Patrick to
It's
you?
one of my dear kids that I've taken under my wing.
Okay, so not biological.
No.
Okay.
There's a picture.
Yeah, picture, okay. Does this picture resemble what he looks like right now?
His beard is a little fuller and his hair is in better shape than that.
I remember you mentioned something about when you talked about him going to Alan Bruce's. It seemed like you said something to where they had some conflict recently. They have?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know why he went there?
He was supposed to go move his motorhomes, and when he got out there, Alan had moved them with the bulldozer.
Okay.
Not good. Probably screwed up the transmissions, and I don't know.
Recent falling out with Alan Bruce over some motorhomes Bruce had apparently moved with heavy equipment while Patrick was away. She mentioned it almost as an aside, the kind of neighborhood friction.
They had a friendship that just recently, within the last couple months, turned south. They started fighting, arguing, having, disagreements and whatnot between the two of them.
That happens between people who've known each other a long time. Nothing in how she said it suggested she thought it mattered. In a county this remote, a missing person report can sit for days before deputies have anything solid to work from. That's not usually anyone's failure. It's simply what distance does out here. This time, the process moved faster, because deputies recognized Alan Bruce's name immediately. A man with a local reputation for disputes and short patience with anyone he felt had wronged him. Officers decided to drive out and talk to him, mostly hoping he could point them toward wherever Patrick might be working. They didn't expect much. They had no reason yet to expect anything. What none of them could have known, walking up to Alan Bruce's property that afternoon, was that what they were investigating wasn't a disappearance still in progress. It was already over. It had been over for 2 days.
Hey, Alan. How's it going?
So, one thing after another.
One thing after another? Hey, I was just coming to chat with you. We had a report that no one knows where Pat is right now.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay. And I just wanted to touch bases with you because I know you got the stuff off your property, but he was going to come by to pick it up, right?
Yeah,
Did you ever see him on that?
I did.
Okay.
They came by here. He was unhappy, very unhappy.
Okay, but it was just all kind of verbal argument or something, or he's just, okay. And he went and got his stuff then, or?
Well, he still has some stuff here. He said he would want to go cut some wood. He needs some money. So he's probably out somewhere out there. Maybe broke down, I don't know.
I'm just trying to create a timeline so I know who last saw him. So when was that he showed up here?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago?
3 nights ago?
Let's see,
Can't
what is
remember.
If you're watching this channel for the first time, this is the kind of case it exists to cover, carefully, completely, without rushing past what the people involved deserve. Subscribing just means the next one finds you. Now, back to Patrick. It was already over, though the deputy who pulled up to Alan Bruce's property that afternoon had no way of knowing it. Bruce came out to meet him without hesitation, willing to talk, almost eager. He confirmed Patrick had come by a few nights earlier, upset about the motorhomes, that words had been exchanged, that Patrick had said he was heading out to cut wood afterward because he needed the money. He offered a location, a cutting spot near Bay Horse he claimed was the only one he knew Patrick used. On the surface, it was cooperative. Underneath it, something felt off. The deputy noted how controlled Bruce's answers were, how little they wavered under simple follow-up questions. The kind of consistency that can look like honesty or like rehearsal, depending on what turns up later. When a second officer arrived at the property, Bruce grew noticeably more relaxed and talkative than he had been with just one deputy present. One of Patrick's motorhomes sat on the property, its door ratchet-strapped shut, its lock looking cut rather than opened. Bruce explained it by saying he'd needed to move the vehicles himself, which matched what he'd already told them, though it left a narrower question underneath. How, and how quietly? Without a warrant, deputies couldn't search further that day. They left for Bayhorse instead.
Thursday night? Okay. And then, did he hang around here long, or did he just go right over?
Back and forth.
Back and forth? Coming back onto the property?
Yeah.
Does he still stab stuff here then?
He does.
Oh,
Takes
okay.
it all out.
Oh, okay.
Like that shed, that wooden shed is his.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The tires in it. And you can see there's a pickup rack just over that Ford.
Oh, just the steel there
Yeah, the
poking
steel-
up?
steel
Oh,
rack
okay.
is.
Okay. So he...
Wooden rack over there on the back of the tractor, like that.
This, okay.
Tires.
Just kind of bunch of crap laying around?
Right.
Okay. So he got some of it though?
Yeah.
Do you know where he was taking it to?
Taking down his motorhomes.
Oh, where are his motorhomes?
Right here, you walk over here and you see.
Okay. Oh, there?
There's his Ram Charger and another one's in front.
He's riding along with me. I was just on a phone call for a minute, so I didn't want to bring that out here.
So did he stay here last night or?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. And he didn't tell you where he was going to get the wood?
Hold on. It was Thursday night he left here, not last night.
Okay. You know, does he have any favorite spots so we can just go
He's got a
check
spot
for
up
him?
there at Bayhorse, pretty close to the top. You go up there before you get to the rest area, the potties. You see where it takes off and goes down the hill and crosses the creek.
Uh-huh.
Way back up in there is a favorite wood cutting spot for him.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that the only one you know about?
It's the only one he took me to.
Oh, okay. You may be the last person that saw him because he would have then gone up there that night potentially?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The doors are ratchet strapped closed. Looks like it's cut.
Are these your footprints?
No.
Maybe take a photo of those.
Yeah, that one looks open. That looks... I think it looks cut.
If that is a deadbolt, but that's an additional.
I'm assuming Alan had to access it to put it in neutral. Technically, you could be looking at unlawful entry.
Following the one lead Bruce had handed them himself. They found the truck that evening, and what sat beside it changed the direction of the entire search. What they still didn't have, and wouldn't have for hours yet, was any account from Bruce that actually matched what deputies were starting to see in front of them. His story had been consistent. It would also, before long, turn out to be almost entirely constructed. What sat beside the truck was, against the odds, alive. A small dog, trapped inside for 2 full days without food or water.
Dog's in the seat.
Alive?
What was the dog's name?
Ryder.
Ryder, buddy. Ryder.
It awake?
No, it's not moving.
Dog's been in here a while. He's messed himself. Oh, he's moving. It's definitely a he, by the way. Hi, baby. Oh, you're okay. We're gonna get you some water, okay? Where'd he go? Where did he go?
Badly dehydrated but breathing. The only one at that scene who couldn't explain what he'd witnessed. Patrick's red pickup sat exactly where deputies had been led to expect it, near Big Hill, its passenger window broken from the inside. Patrick's chainsaw, which he never went anywhere without, was gone. Inside the cab, deputies found blood across the interior, a fragment consistent with a bullet, and a single piece of mail lying in the road nearby, addressed to Alan Bruce. Nobody said the word out loud yet. Nobody needed to. Phone records would later confirm that Patrick's last known location, in the hours before he stopped answering, was Alan Bruce's own property. There is no footage of what happened to Patrick Shelton in those hours, and there never will be. What exists instead is the aftermath. A vehicle emptied of its owner, a dog that would not have survived another day inside it, and evidence making clear, well before anyone confessed to anything, that Patrick had not simply gotten lost. By the time deputies secured the scene that night, the case had already turned from a search for a missing man into a homicide investigation with one name attached to it. Search and rescue mobilized. State police were called in, and somewhere close by, in the same darkness those teams were working through, Alan Bruce was not at home waiting for news. He was still out in it, moving between the places he needed to return to before morning. Every case on this channel gets the same care you've just seen. The facts first, and the people at the center of it treated like people, not content. If that's something you want more of, subscribing helps. What surfaces next changes almost everything investigators think they understand. He was moving quietly because he believed he had time. Around midnight, a deputy patrolling near Patrick's truck came across a man standing alone in the dark beside it. The same man from the flashlight beam this story opened with. Alan Bruce told the deputy he was simply keeping an eye on Patrick's belongings, worried about theft. It was a strange thing to be doing, at that hour, in that place, for a man who had already told investigators everything he claimed to know. He didn't mention what else he'd been doing that night, in the dark, along the river that runs through the middle of the county.
So what are you coming out here for?
That guy there, Patrick Shelton, that's his stuff. I'm kind of looking after a little bit.
Okay.
Car down here, and I thought I'd come down to investigate. He's told us what was off.
Okay.
I didn't know it was you guys.
Okay, well, I turned my lights on, and you still were shining your light at me.
Yeah, you had the lights on me. I couldn't see where I was going.
Okay, I'm saying I turned my red and blue lights on.
Yeah.
And you were still spotlighting me. And then I instructed you to turn it off.
I don't like lights in my eyes about as much as you don't. You know, you had yours and mine, so I guess we're even.
No, it's not even. Okay, so what are you doing? You're just keeping an eye on
Patrick Shelton.
Okay.
You got a serious problem going on down here? That's why you just do the words that light.
You having a little what problem?
Thievery.
What? Thievery. Okay.
Talk to Kelly about that. He'll tell you.
Okay. All right. So you're just trying to keep an eye on stuff then?
Yeah. Make sure nobody's ripping shit off down here.
Okay.
Or if I got you excited.
All right. 270, 240. We can calm down. I'm code 4.
By morning, investigators had enough for a warrant. They got Bruce off the property and searched it while he waited in a patrol car, confident, by every appearance, that there was nothing left to find. He was wrong. A cadaver dog named Spy alerted on a set of barrels near the outbuildings. Inside, broken glass consistent with a bullet impact, latex gloves, blood on the filter of a vacuum, night vision binoculars, a blood-marked baseball cap, bone fragments, and what investigators described as suspected human remains on multiple pieces of clothing. Ammunition and magazines turned up. The firearms themselves did not. The motorhomes came back into the story here. The same ones Patrick had stored on Bruce's land without a second thought. The same casual arrangement that had looked, in quieter days, like nothing more than two men who trusted each other enough to leave property on each other's ground. That trust was the reason Bruce had unsupervised access to everything Patrick owned in the days after he vanished, and the reason nobody thought twice when Bruce explained away a cut lock or a moved trailer. What had looked like an ordinary business habit had made the entire cover-up possible. Alan Bruce's brother, Larry, arrived at the property that same day, having already called investigators to insist that if anything had happened to Patrick, Patrick had brought it on himself. He produced text messages showing a real, escalating feud, Patrick's own words among them hostile and threatening. For a moment, it read like the opening of a defense. Then investigators asked the obvious question. If Patrick truly had been the danger everyone described, why did nothing about what happened to him afterward look anything like self-defense? Larry had no answer. Neither yet did his brother. There was never much dispute that Alan Bruce and Patrick Shelton had known each other for years before any of this happened. What remained hidden that day wasn't whether they knew each other. It was how far one of them had already gone to make sure the other could never be found. How far he'd gone became clear only once investigators stopped asking Alan Bruce to explain himself and started showing him what they had already found. Watch how quickly the story changes once denial stops being an option. after hours insisting he had nothing to do with Patrick's disappearance. After offering at least one account that didn't hold up against the evidence, Bruce was walked back across his own property and shown exactly where the cadaver dogs had alerted. A state police sergeant asked him, in his own words, to explain, man to man, what had happened. Bruce did. He described leaving the property after an earlier confrontation, then returning armed with a rifle, watching Patrick from a distance for hours in the dark using night vision optics before ever approaching him. That detail matters. Whatever happened in the seconds before the shot was fired, the hours that came before it were not spontaneous. Bruce told investigators he eventually walked toward Patrick, that Patrick reached for a handgun of his own, and that the choice, at that point, was the gun or him. He shot Patrick. He then described, in practical, almost procedural terms, what came after. Removing the body, a chainsaw, burning the remains along with the wood and the saw itself in a barrel, driving that barrel to a bridge along the Salmon River and putting it into the water, then cleaning the scene with bleach, a shop vacuum, and a rake. Asked why he never called anyone.
Well, we want to be able to tell the prosecutor you helped us every which way you could.
I can protect my case and go to prison for the rest of my life. What?
I don't know. I can't tell you what the prosecutor.
I gotta go to the insurance trial now.
You don't have to go through nothing right now. Yeah. So the way it works here is he doesn't feel like we should let you stay free, right? So we're still going to continue to investigate this case with your help or without your help. We're still going to dig through.
But there's still some things that like concern me, like, and I don't know if you were asking about like who drove the truck up in the mountains.
Nobody drove it. I towed it up there.
Oh, you towed it up there?
Yeah.
Okay. With which vehicle?
My dog.
Okay.
The tow barn and towed it up here.
Oh, okay. What'd you do with the dog?
Left it in the truck. I was in dispatch, but I figured, nah, just leave the truck with maybe more.
Yeah.
Oh, the dog didn't do nothing.
I didn't want to kill it.
Yeah.
It didn't do nothing.
Yeah. So
we're in a rock and a hard place right now, right? It's where we've been all day. It's where we're going to continue to be until we can completely wrap this up and figure out what the hell actually happened.
Well, before you take it to jail, I'd like to lock on this.
Okay. Well,
yeah, we're not going to leave this unsecured.
We'll lock it all up and bring in the keys.
Close the gate.
Yeah.
I didn't call. I'm in trouble.
Well, that's part of it, but you also destroyed some evidence.
What did you?
I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Alan, dude, come on. Did you burn a body? Come on.
Yeah, I did.
And you didn't tell anybody. So, like, look at it from our point of view. You know, we do the right thing for Patrick's family. You know what I mean? We gotta try to find that body. You know, we gotta do the right thing for his family.
There is no body found. He was reduced down to nothing. Nothing.
Did you chop him up?
No, I threw him in the burn barrel with a bunch of wood underneath him. Yeah, I chopped him up. I took the chainsaw to him.
Okay, where's the chainsaw?
It's gone. It's gone.
Did you throw it in the river?
I got rid of it. Believe me, I burned it.
You burned the chainsaw?
Yeah.
Is it in the barrel? And I've never chainsawed a body, but I think there would be like blood and skin and gristle and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it was ugly.
And so, like, where's that at? How did you clean that up?
Took a shovel and rake, raked up everything I could, washed it down with a hose, and put Clorox on it.
And the chainsaw's where?
Shoot the burn barrel and burned the last day. You came up with that pistol, we're gonna do it.
And we're not arguing. We're not arguing that point. We're just trying to figure out like what you did with the body, how you did it, and where it's at, if there's anything left.
Not much.
Did you have any help with it?
That's just where you shoot, shut up, and shovel.
Do you see our point? I mean, what we're trying to do at all, Alan?
I tried to hide it and get away with it.
Yeah. And like I said, we're just trying to, you know, get some closure for his family and present the picture so that everybody understands why you did what you did.
Said you better pull the trigger. Mother, things coming up the gun. At that point, it was me or him, but
Bruce gave investigators a phrase of his own making, one that would later appear in the probable cause affidavit almost exactly as he said it. Shoot, shovel, and shut up. None of this is offered here as a diagnosis of the man who said it. It's offered as what he chose to say, and what those choices reveal without needing further interpretation. Hours of watching before a word was exchanged, a cleanup detailed enough to name its own tools, and an explanation for the silence that treated concealment less like a mistake and more like a philosophy. A confession built this specifically doesn't describe panic. It describes a plan that only partly worked. What it cannot do, and was never going to do, is explain Patrick to anyone who didn't already know him. That work belonged to two daughters who stood, months later, in a courtroom neither of them had asked to be in, and to a woman named Helen, who had been the first to say out loud that something about his silence was wrong. One of Patrick's daughters would later describe that specific kind of waiting as its own form of suffering, every unanswered hour stretching further than the one before it. That, and not the barrels, and not the river, is the part of this case that never fully resolves. This is the kind of case that stays with you. If you want more like it, covered with this same care, subscribing means the next one finds you. Now, to the sentence that followed. The sentence that followed took nearly 6 months to arrive, and even then, it didn't answer every question the case had raised. Alan Bruce was originally charged with first-degree murder, a charge that in Idaho can carry the death penalty, along with destruction of evidence, failure to report a death, and unlawful possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, tied to an assault and weapons conviction out of California more than 15 years earlier. A persistent violator enhancement came attached to that last charge, a formal acknowledgement that this was not the first time Alan Bruce had been found on the wrong side of a gun. On October 23rd, he entered an Alford plea, admitting prosecutors had enough evidence to convict him while continuing to assert his own innocence, to a reduced charge of second-degree murder, along with destruction of evidence. In exchange, he waived his right to appeal and agreed to a sentence of 10 to 20 years. Part of what shaped that outcome wasn't really about leniency. Idaho law caps the charge for destroying a human body at 10 years, regardless of what was done or how deliberately, a limit the prosecutor on the case would later name directly, in open court. Part of it was the plainer fact that the case's central piece of evidence, Patrick himself, no longer existed to be shown to a jury. At sentencing on November 17th, Bruce tried to withdraw his plea. The judge denied him, and the hearing proceeded. Bruce spoke for himself, describing Patrick as a friend, insisting again that he had acted only to protect his own life. Two of Patrick's daughters spoke as well, and it was one of them who told the court about letters Bruce had sent from jail, letters in which he suggested that dismembering their father's body had, in its way, been a kindness, since it meant they wouldn't have to pay for a funeral. Afterward, the family had one word for him, publicly: coward.
I thought he would apologize. I thought that maybe he would show some form of remorse because of other things that was going on in Bruce's life. It really made me angry that he made it seem like he was justified, that, well, he was doing us a favor. He was doing everyone a favor by dismembering my dad and throwing him in the river. I could never imagine that he would have wrote those horrific things. I thought it was an apology. It was not an apology.
He was sentenced to 20 years, 10 of them fixed, meaning parole becomes possible only after a full decade, somewhere in Bruce's early 80s. Despite an extensive search of the Salmon River and the surrounding forest, only DNA and fragments of bone were ever recovered. The rest of Patrick Shelton was never found, and at a certain point, with the river running high and the search stretched past what it could reasonably continue to cover, Custer County's search and rescue teams had no choice but to stand down. They stood down the search for his body. They never stood down the search for who he was. The flashlight beam that opened this story still returns, in memory, to the same dark stretch of road, to a man standing alone beside a truck that was never his. Everyone watching that moment now knows exactly what he had already done, and how close it came to staying that way. It very nearly did. The Salmon River has carried its old name for longer than anyone in Chalice has been alive, the River of No Return. It earned that name from the current, not from anything that happened in the spring of 2025. What went into that river that spring never came back out of it. 2 daughters buried what could be recovered and carry what couldn't, unanswered, on their own. A woman named Helen still lives in Chalice, in the same town where she once told an officer that the man everyone was searching for wasn't her blood, but was hers, all the same. His dog survived. His name did not disappear with him. Patrick,